What's up? Welcome into Dragon Ball Super Dope. My name is Kyle. Thank you for checking this out. In case you didn't see the title of the episode, I was fortunate enough to sit down with MasakoX of Team 4-Star, the voice of Goku and Gohan, for a chat last week for about an hour. More on that in 1 second, only because unfortunately this news came in a few days ago. We haven't recorded anything in about a week. So in the last week, unfortunate news in the Dragon Ball Z voice actor community. The Latin American dub actor for Gohan, Luis Alfonso Mendoza, was murdered in Mexico City this past week. He was 55 years old, murdered by, I guess, a tenant of his over a dispute over studio space. Also, Mendoza's wife and brother-in-law were killed, and terrible. I mean, I hate having to start off such a positive episode with such terrible news. Rest in peace to the three of them. Unfortunately, the attacker, well, fortunately, I don't know how you want to look at that. The attacker then tried to kill himself, and I guess it didn't work out for him. He's in critical condition. So, karma. Rest in peace, Luis Alfonso Mendoza. So, this MasakoX interview. A couple of things. First and foremost, holy free holies, man. I was really, really nervous to talk with him. This is somebody whose content I've been watching since 2008, 2009. I remember when Jimmy and Carlton first showed it to me. It was really a treat to get to talk with him, but all in all, I'm very aware of the fact that this is the most visible person I've ever had the opportunity to interview, and I didn't want to fuck it up. So obviously, right out of the gate, I fucked it up. So by that I mean, I had a microphone issue. Crazy day, got home late from work. He was already ready to go. I basically didn't flip on the power to my interface from my microphone. So the sound that you're going to hear from my end anyway, very much sounds like I'm on a telephone. MasakoX's sound, on the other hand, like a true consummate professional, his sound is great. He's the guy that you want to hear from anyway. So I try not to interject too often. This conversation is obviously going to touch on some of the stuff about Team 4-Star and the recent announcement to end Dragon Ball Z Abridged in its current iteration. But I also sort of approach this conversation as a little bit more rounded. I didn't just want to talk about Team 4-Star stuff. If you've listened to this podcast, you know I've got a really complicated relationship with my fandom for Team 4-Star. But I really wanted to get to know Masako as a fan, first and foremost, and understand like some of his favorite parts of Dragon Ball Z and really what hooked him as a fan early in his life. Learn a little bit more about what got him into voice acting and how he eventually hooked up with the guys in Team 4-Star and got the opportunity to voice Goku and Gohan. Talk about that recent announcement from them and his feelings on the situation. Then I also talk with him a little bit more about his content creation on his YouTube channel. If you don't subscribe to his YouTube, you should. I do get to talk with him a little bit toward the end about Dragon Ball R and R, Raditz and Launch, which is really interesting series, man. It's super well done, and it's done from a place of love and passion that's very apparent. Understand I sound like I'm on the phone because I'm a dope. So here is my sit down with MasakoX. Very special episode today. I am joined by a legend in the Dragon Ball content community, a integral part of Team 4-Star Dragon Ball Z Abridged, the voice of Goku and Gohan. I'm joined by MasakoX. Masako, how are you doing today?
Well, I gotta say, it's good evening, New York. I always wanted to say that.
Awesome, man. I think it's so cool to see the Goku voice just kind of drop in like that.
Yeah, no, it's as you might be able to tell with like my voice usually, it's not too far off my regular speaking voice. Let me just a little more peppy. That kind of stuff.
What would you say? What would you say the differentiation between that one and how you approach?
Like with Gohan?
Yeah.
Well, exactly with Gohan, it's just a little bit higher and a little bit more kind of articulate because I'm not dumb.
Read those books.
Yeah, those things with paper in them. That the only good thing that books can do is teach you how to cook stuff.
So, Masako, thank you so much for agreeing to come on and talk with me today. I think some preparation to get this set up. You're recently back from a vacation, so I appreciate you jumping on to speak with me so soon after returning from your trip.
No worries, man. We had this plan for a while, so I wouldn't welch out of this. No.
And shout out to my friend Chris and Caleb over at the Holy Nerdy podcast, doing their show. I think it was a year or two ago at this point. So
yeah, I think so. Yeah,
it was a great episode. So if you guys haven't checked out the Holy Nerdy podcast, go check out Masako's episode with them. I also did a crossover podcast with them, not too much longer after you did. Awesome content, but I wanted to start sort of at the top before we get into any of the Team 4-Star stuff or any of the recent announcements and news regarding Team 4-Star. Obviously, I want to get to all that, but whenever I talk to somebody new about Dragon Ball, especially a big fan such as yourself, I like to sort of start from the beginning and sort of understand how they found the series initially, and what resonated with them, and really what made them become, in a lot of cases, a lifelong fan. So how did you first find Dragon Ball, and how old were you?
Well, I found Dragon Ball around the age of 13, roughly. Like, because in the UK, we didn't have Dragon Ball until the year 2000, and that came on Cartoon Network. And I remember seeing the adverts for it, and it was pretty bonkers, really. It was just like nothing I'd seen before. I mean, I'd been dabbling into anime, initially from what my brother had in terms of Project Eiko, 3x3 Eyes, Fatal Fury, all that kind of stuff. I mean, a little bit mature as it were, but then there were like Samurai Pizza Cats and Sailor Moon, Pokemon, all that kind of stuff. It was really kind of just starting to actually be recognized as anime and not just them cartoons from Japan. But yeah, I watched it and I was immediately hooked. I loved it, and luckily, because we got it so late, we didn't have to wait so long for new episodes. So I just found it there and just hit the internet when it was just getting broadband, and then just researched to my heart's content.
That's excellent. So you didn't have to go through that long 2-year loop of beginning of Raditz. We get to that point in the Frieza arc, and then boom, right back to Raditz on Cartoon Network.
Yeah, no, I didn't have to be part of that. I mean, we did have some looping when new episodes came out, but it was like nowhere near as long.
Yeah, that was the Dragon Ball Z purgatory for fans back then. What would you say? I mean, obviously, you mentioned a lot of anime off the top that your brother had, introduced to you, and there's a lot of stuff that was starting to become more commonly localized in the 90s. What would you say about Dragon Ball, though, resonated with you so strongly?
Probably just, I mean, admittedly, the Pioneer Dub soundtrack was really, really, poppin'. I loved it. It was really good at the time. And just generally the feel of the dub was just so different. It was just, even though it was quite considerably censored, you could feel like that there was something more mature than what you'd come to expect. It was nothing like what I had seen before. So the difference between that and a regular show was just so palpable that I just had to follow it. And it was just one of those things I'd be like rushing back from school to kind of just go like, hey, oh, quick. Because they showed 2 episodes at 5:00. So, for an hour. And they'd show the previous day's episode, then the new one. So I'd always try and get back to see the new one.
I think that makes a lot of sense, even though it was so heavily edited back then, in comparison to a lot of the other shows that were coming out back then. Difference I think Dragon Ball had over many of them was that it was serialized, and the other successful ones like Sailor Moon and Pokemon kind of did like the soft reset at the end of each episode. There was some general progress to the story arcs, but really it was like a week to week sort of adventure. Dragon Ball, not only is it a serialized thing, but there are literal life and death consequences.
Well, yeah, early in Z, yeah. But I mean, back then, it was a big deal. But now knowing more than now knowing what I know, it's just like, death really has no meaning.
Exactly.
But at the time, absolutely. When you see that, this guy Goku, he seems kind of cool. Oh wait, he dies. What?
Why did they just kill the main character?
Yeah, but then it's like, oh no, wait, he's gone somewhere else. Oh, he's gonna train to get even stronger. Cool.
So cool. Actually, that's kind of a good segue to ask you, what is your favorite series of Dragon Ball?
Well, Z is obviously the more iconic series, but to be honest, I've really kind of recently been reminding myself of the original Dragon Ball. And Dragon Ball, I got the same feeling when I was watching JoJo's Part 2 Battle Tendency. Is in like, it's got a great and very iconic cast of characters. The story is not that complicated. You can dive into it and get yourself immersed into it. So that's why I always say with JoJo, incidentally, Battle Tendency is my favorite part 2. Mm-hmm. So just because of the fact it's an adventure, it's not too complicated. You have Hamon, which is similar to Ki, with that not really being used too often, but enough so that means it's something novel, like with Ki Attack, that kind of stuff. You don't really see that in the first half of Dragon Ball, but later on, you start to see it more and more, and it gets more and more bombastic, especially when you get to King Piccolo.
I agree with you. I always tell people that Dragon Ball is my favorite of the series as well, and they sort of don't believe me. I feel like it's kind of a hot take in recent years.
It's a very different series to Z. I mean, it's very weird. I mean, then the final third, like the King Piccolo arc and the 23rd tournament, they're pretty much standard Dragon Ball Z. Like,
yeah, that's like a transitionary point.
It's starting to get the tempo. Yeah, the King Piccolo arc is basically a Z arc. Just him, Toriyama finding his feet. But before then, it's all just really, the Earth's not really in that much of peril, in a way. You know that Goku's going to win. You just want to kind of know how he does it.
Yeah, and there is still some, very serious consequences, even on the smaller scale, but you get to see it progress. And I agree that King Piccolo, by the time we get there, that's like almost a perfect transition step to what we're about to step into in a more, not so much mystical, but more like science fiction based aspect of Dragon Ball Z with, aliens visiting the first episode.
Yeah, the fact that space is even a thing.
Exactly. What would you say is your favorite arc overall?
Probably the Cell arc, really, because Perfect Cell's my favorite villain from Dragon Ball. Just because
we're 2 for 2 right now. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, no, it's only because I just like Cell's design and I just love his place in the story. He is the culmination of everything that has gone before. Everything that has happened in Dragon Ball Z, it's been recorded and used against the heroes. And it's just that premise is just mesmerizingly good.
Although, I do got to throw in, what the fuck is Namek, right? I mean, that's the one big aspect that they kind of cut out in terms of how they research Cell and the androids. And that's one of my favorite callbacks to Dragon Ball Z Abridged episode.
It's like, seriously, what the heck is a Namek?
So last question in terms of getting to know you as a Dragon Ball Z fan. What is your favorite opening song?
Oh, well, I mean, Makafushigi Adventure is definitely the one that gets you pumped up the most. And there's a funny story attached to it. I went to Japan with my now wife the end of 2018. And I mentioned that, we were engaged and stuff like that. So we were kind of, celebrating the build up to our wedding later on last year. And they got us checked in and everything. And then they called me from our room and they said, "Oh, Mr. Simpson, could you come down to reception, please?" And I was like, "Oh, is there something wrong?" And I came down, and what they'd done is they had one of those little strawberry cakes with two forks and a picture of Goku and Chi-Chi when they got married, and just saying congratulations.
That's so cool.
And I didn't even tell them what I did. That was
they
the
just
killer.
Know you. Your reputation.
Well, they did their research, because I said I had a YouTube channel, but I didn't say what. I didn't give a link. And they looked it up, and I was just like, "Oh my god!" I nearly cried. It was just like the kindness. We just gotten off a plane at Haneda, and we just had that moment. So I quickly just, "Excuse me, I just go and get my fiance," and I brought Philly down, and she was just blown away as well. And then this is the connection. they sung Makufushigi Adventure.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
They had like strawberry wine, and we offered some to them, and they said, no, we're working. It's like, no, don't worry, we won't tell your manager. So they had a sip in nondescript cup. And then we just had a little sing song.
That is such a cool story.
I know, it was so good.
Oh my god, I got weird chills as Dragon Ball. Like,
I just didn't know what to say. It was such a. It kind of made me think. We were there for 2 weeks, and it was just like, oh yeah, this is going to be good.
Wow, that is such a good time, man.
Still miss it.
When did you guys get married?
Last October.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I can totally understand Makufushigi Adventure being your pick. I don't know. I kind of go back and forth, but I'd say 9 times out of 10, I stick with Dan Dan, even though, Dragon Ball GT is what it is to our fandom.
Oh, of course, Dan Dan. Yeah, Dan Dan's right up there.
Love that song so much. So, all right, I feel like I've got a pretty good base in terms of, where you are as a Dragon Ball fan. Obviously, this series is an integral part of your life. In terms of early days of the Team 4-Star stuff, I mean, obviously, we mentioned at the top, you are the voice of Goku and Gohan. Have you always had aspirations to get into voice acting?
Oh, yeah. Probably from like an early age. I'd always have a little tape recorder and stuff like that, making silly voices and stuff. But I got interested in a voice actress, Kira Buckland. She is now, and she's like to be in Nier Automata. She's in like loads of stuff nowadays. She's like one of the Burbank crowd, so that's pretty awesome. But back then, she was known very well as Kagome and Rina-chan. Back then, she was really well known for having a good Excel impression, as well as doing Kagome for Inuyasha fan dubs. And she had a website and everything like that, so I was just amazed by her ability. So I emailed her and just like, hey, I can voice act too. Here's my demo reel. Thankfully, I don't have the files anymore.
What year would you say that this is around?
2005.
Excellent.
Yeah, so when I was about like 18. So she pointed me to the Voice Acting Alliance. She thought I was okay, and I auditioned for 3 things that first week, and I got booked for 2 of them. So,
wow.
Yeah, and I was one of the... Yeah, I mean, they were just fan dubs, though. But still, back in the day, fan dubs, they were all the rage.
Exactly.
So, yeah, no, it just all went from there, really. And I actually finally got to meet Kira after, 14 years of not seeing each other, and that was a big deal. So finally, I got to meet her last year at AX.
And get to meet her and greet her and thank her.
You thank her, absolutely.
That's so cool. So how did you find yourself working with the Team Star guys initially?
Well, in 2006, myself, Vegeta 3986, we worked on Naruto Abridged, obviously, which we discovered each other through the Voice Acting Alliance, of course. And we did all that, and then Little Kariba had been doing the Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged series around 2006, and we thought we could do the same with Naruto, and we did, and it met, a reasonable amount of success. It was pretty good. I feel like our series popularized the idea that people could go, hey, we could make our own. It made it more accessible to people, but at the same time, you had Lanny Pator with Yu Hakusho Abridged, you had Taka and Joey Cheeseman with G Gundam Abridged, Aiza with Lupin Abridged, and various other ones as well.
Wow, I guess I didn't realize that there was so many of them. I knew that
there were Abridged series for everything.
Preceded, but
yeah,
I really thought, or I think that, at least in my brain, in my head canon, that Dragon Ball Z Abridged wasn't the first, but it was the one that everyone sort of really drew attention to first because of the accessibility of Dragon Ball Z in that time. I feel like that was the one that made everybody say, all right, you know what? What can we do now? But apparently, there was a bunch of people leading up to that.
I feel like Naruto Abridged was one of those things that kind of got initially people up. Oh, and of course, I couldn't absolutely forget HBI 2K's Berserk Abridged. Yeah, you cannot forget that guy. Yeah, HBI was a very pivotal part of that group. Yeah, Ben is one of those people I really connect with the most. And just his Berserk Abridged had that different kind of humor. Even though our technical quality throughout all of the series, nowadays we would weep at because they were just really bad, we were finding our feet. And back in 2006, that was really good for what we could do. But yeah, we all just found each other and we were like, hey, I like your work. Hey, I like your work as well. And then I think Kaiser and Taka and Lanny just got together and say, hey, you know what? We all like Dragon Ball. Well, let's just let's just, do the series. Because Lanny, Vegeta, and I, and Rissa, another friend of ours at the time, we had done the first couple of movies of DBZ. So we got to have a little snippet of voicing certain characters. But with DBZA, that was the call of being show run by Kaiser. So, yeah, it just went from there. And I remember that he approached me. Apparently, Taka thought, Taka convinced him to, because Kaiser thought I would say no. The fool. Why would I say no? I basically asked me, and I think before he could even finish the question, I said, yes. Like, wow. Do Goku more? Okay. But actually, I didn't voice Gohan in the first episode.
Who was the first episode?
It was Vegeta. Even though it was like Vegeta 3986. Even though it was just one line, I then took over from episode 2.
Any thought into that decision, or just kind of was like, hey, we may as well have it because they're related, and
I just think it was just the direction they were trying to go for. It just didn't quite work.
That makes sense. Going back to something that you said, about how if you guys look back now on the edits that you did back then, you probably weep just due to the quality. I just wanted to stop and point that out, that I feel like it's really important that despite technical limitations, you guys still pushed through and made what you'd set out to do. You'd still continued to make your content despite maybe not knowing the best way to go about it. You had a vision and you tried to execute on it. And obviously, as you continue to do that, will improve the craft, and you'll look at where you are now. I only stopped to point that out because that's sounds very much in the way of how we started with our podcast, and how it initially was just like, hey, we're talking about Dragon Ball anyway. Why don't we just throw on some microphones and see how it goes? And
yeah, didn't
know what to expect, and sort of have gotten, I'd hope anyway, better over the last couple of years. But I can appreciate and really respect the fact that you guys didn't let technical limitations stop you from making content.
Oh no, I mean we had a degree of ability, and I was studying at university to be an editor. So doing these abridged series was perfect practice for editing. So this was what I do. So like Naruto Abridged was known for having a really good editing quality, relatively speaking. But Kaiser was the one that pretty much with Lupin just really pushed the envelope forward. And it's just the thing was, though, we have to be aware that we always improve, and to be aware that where you've come from to show that you have progressed. If things think, oh, I'm not going anywhere, you just look back to what you did 2 years ago and you think, oh, well, God, did I really do that? And the fact you can recognize that means you have made progress. So there is hope.
Absolutely. So in terms of the early days when you started to work, I'm not sure how involved you may have been with, obviously, provide the voice acting talents for Goku Gohan. In terms of the writing stuff, or in terms of how you guys collaborate, I mean, 2008, it's not quite the technological advancements of 2020, but I mean, you guys had the capabilities. What did the early days of working on Dragon Ball Z Abridged look like for you guys from a collaborative standpoint?
Well, I didn't really help out in the writing because I was not a writer at the time. I was mainly just an editor and vocal talent. So it was Kaiser, Taka, and Lanny doing all that. So they'd write together over Skype, and they would provide the scripts, and I'd get emailed them, and then I would record them cold reading for the first 13 or 14 episodes, and I would send the lines to Kaiser, and if I needed to do any redos, then I would do the redos. But then we got to episode 14, so around about 2010, when Kaiser was like saying, you know what, we should all like really be directed, in person, so, or on Skype in real time, so we can actually have a good connection. So afterwards, with those episodes, you start to get a really kind of cohesive dynamic. Like you feel like the characters are actually talking to each other, as in like that it's conveyed a bit more naturally. So back then, for the first season, certainly, it was all a bit disconnected. Like, once I'd done my lines, I wouldn't hear anything else about that episode again until it came out. But that was just down to time zones, really.
So once you guys started to work together, like you said, it became a little bit more cohesive. I think that there's a really stark increase in quality between season 1 and season 2. Obviously, when you guys take on the Frieza saga, not only in terms of like the quality of the production, but I feel like even the writing stepped up a peg as well. And I think in large part it has to do with, I feel like the cast of characters sort of explodes when you go to Namek. and you've got a lot more places to explore in terms of characters and in terms of how these characters interact with one another.
Hmm.
When did you? Was it like going into season 2? I mean, there must have been a moment for you guys in season 1 where you started to realize that this thing is huge and people are paying attention to us. And how are we going to follow this up to this season 1?
Well, I think they recognized that after episode 1 came out, we had like over 50,000 subscribers after episode 1. And
Wow.
back in 2008, that's a big deal.
Yeah,
To
it's
gain
beginning
that
of
many
YouTube, that's
subscribers.
crazy.
To gain 10,000 subscribers in a week back then was unheard of. This was like insane. So immediately, as soon as we got out the door, we realized, oh, okay, we've hit upon something really special here. But yeah, when it comes to season 1, we basically, the dynamic did change, and the move away from random humor was very apparent. It was more about character based. That means anyone who was not too familiar with DBZ could jump onto DBZA and get the general idea about what's going on, and then jump into the original series and not feel like they're lost. And and that was around the time we kind of had our YouTube channel taken down for the first time. It's around 2009. So yeah, that was a harrowing moment. So we were having to deal with the season 2 transition, our channel being taken down, but we got it back. But it was a very tumultuous time going into season 2.
That sounds really stressful, and there are expectations from your fans, and obviously you want to continue to grow, but the copyright strike stuff and having your channel taken down, at that point, it's like, even though everyone wants to do season 2, and I imagine you guys were very much in favor of doing season 2, I imagine you had to ask, is it even worth it to try to pursue at this point?
Well, it was kind of like that, a big pivotal moment, stuff like that. And this was back in the day before we realized, to just not be scared by these takedowns because they are automatic. But, it was very stressful at the time because it was very unusual. But we persevered and we, got to where we are today.
So season 2 wraps up. We go into season 3. I've heard a lot of, back and forth on the idea of, was it always meant to be season 3, the end of the Cell Saga? Was this always meant to be the end for you guys or not? And over the last couple of years, I've heard several people in your group say that, no, we have full intentions of doing the Buu Saga.
Well, in terms of that, really, I feel like, in a way, the end of the Cell Saga is a natural end point. And Dragon Ball Kai did end there until they did the final chapters, like a couple of years later, trying to fill in a slot out of necessity.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember at that time, we kind of thought, because of the immense scale of the Cell Saga and the Android Saga, we thought about ending it early on. Like, we weren't too sure, because we were just thinking, should we? Because this is going to take years and stuff like that. We had no idea we could not see the ending back in 2013. So we just kind of thought, well, let's not worry about this right now. Let's just get this Cell Saga done. And then I know that towards 2018, when it came, 2017. Yeah, so around about that time, we were all kind of just going, oh, yeah, I think we can do the Buu Saga. So there was initial planning and stuff like that. And of course, jokes were around, but just not put into one cohesive product.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd suppose, really, it just got to that point where, we had the stressful times in 2017 with Toei, stuff like that. So we weren't too sure about the future. So we just didn't want to play with fire anymore. And then in 2018, we kind of thought, yeah, let's just end it. So when we recorded episode 60, we kind of thought, this was in May, and the episode came out in September. So in May, we seriously planned. And when I went to record for it, that was the ending. And it was a very emotional time to record for. So we went into that, recording that episode and making that episode, that being the finale. And it was only not long afterwards that we kind of just thought, Kaiser thought, you know what? Yeah, let's just do it. Let's just have a break and see where we go. Because that's what we've done between season 1 and season 2. We would take a 6 to 12 month break just to kind of get ourselves re-energized and then go into the next one. So, it was a very changeable thing. So we had the intention of doing Buu at, when we released 60. But at the time of recording and writing, the guys wrote it as in, this is the end.
I'm so happy that I'm so happy that you illustrated that for me. I don't know how much of that has been spoken about before. I'm sorry for retreading topics that you've spoken about in the past.
No. It needs to be said.
So I'm glad that you point out that when you went into the booth to record episode 60, there was, a sense of finality there for you guys in terms of your performance and how it was produced and written.
Yeah, it was really heavy.
You guys premiered that at a convention, didn't you? The first part of episode 60?
Oh, yeah, I can tell you about that. But yeah, because that was at Sanjapan. And Sanjapan, that was very nervous because this was part 1, which included the Super Saiyan 2 scream. And I had no idea because I bottled it so many times during recording. I had to record it later on. So I was really nervous. So it all came up. The scream came up. I was shaking, like to my, trying to hold it in. But then the scream happened. There was applause. Yeah, applause just after the scream. And I almost broke down. I almost, I was kind of really emotional, nearly crying, just for the fact that, it was such a huge weight off my mind, something I've been waiting to do for 10 years. And it finally happened, and people didn't hate it.
I'd say I'd even go so far as to say they loved it. I listened to the end of episode 60 about a couple of hours ago, and it is a phenomenal scream. I don't know what you could have been worried about. I know that you said you had to go re-record it, but it's a phenomenal take. It makes sense that you got the applause that you did.
Well, it was just such a lot of pressure because I know it's a very pivotal moment, and we at DBZA we take those moments seriously.
That's actually, I swear, Moscow, you keep setting me up so beautifully. I appreciate this. It's a perfect segue for me to say when I watched episode 60, I hadn't kept up with all episodes of season 3 at that point in time. I'd seen some bits and pieces, and I'd obviously been a huge fan of how you guys portray Cell. I mean, I was a little worried, like, once you lose Frieza as a villain in DBZA, because he's so funny and just plays off of so many characters so well. What's the dynamic with Cell going to be like? But he's just such a right character. But that's all a long way to say I wasn't super familiar with the tone of season 3 when I first watched episode 60. So when I went into it, having been a fan of early DBZA, I haven't watched it when you guys were releasing episodes, monthly by monthly. It didn't feel like Dragon Ball Z Abridged to me. It felt like the Team 4-star dub of Dragon Ball. It felt like there was a sense of finality there for sure, but there was also a sense of seriousness in a lot of aspects in certain scenes. I'm thinking namely of how you and Piccolo go back and forth in the explanation of, why Gohan's going to be the one to defeat Cell. Like, even though you've got your silly Goku voice on, it's a pretty straightforward take on that whole scene. At that point, I felt like I was just watching an episode of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, of course. This was like leading up to the punchline of Goku having a plan and then just realizing it all coming down instantly when Piccolo goes, Gohan doesn't like to fight.
What?
And Goku's just like, completely, and then he realized again, oh my God, I made a huge mistake. Goku's just got it completely wrong. And just that moment. Because that moment in the anime is so iconic. Just that moment when Goku just looks to Gohan and realizes, oh, dang, I messed up badly.
It's one thing that I love about you guys' take on Dragon Ball Z is that it is very faithful to everything that the series has done, but you guys look at it with such an appreciation and love and a certain, skepticism of the sometimes lack of seriousness of the plots that you can poke fun at it and you can have a good time with it.
Yeah, certainly.
So I do appreciate getting back to, treating the more serious moments of what you guys do in terms of the dubs. I think the other primary example in terms of what we're talking about here with the Super Saiyan 2 Gohan transformation, I think the other example would be Goku's transformation on Frieza. On Namek against Frieza. Would you say that you had that sort of pressure leading up to recording a scene like that as well?
Again, that was giving myself pressure. I did 25 takes of that scream.
Wow.
Kaiser was just going, dude, you don't have to do this many. And I was like, no, I need to get this right. Because in a way, there's even more pressure. Because that's Goku. That's Goku's first Super Saiyan arriving in Z and in DBZA. I had to do it justice. And now I go back to it and I feel like, yeah, no, I could have done it better.
Wow. I wish you'd stop beating yourself up so much.
it's not me beating myself up. It's just me basically looking back to something I did 8 years ago and going like, yeah, I could have done it better now, I feel.
Yeah, we always have the benefit of years of experience on the road, hindsight. But let me ask you: do you feel like? I mean, I know that Scott has basically said they didn't want to get to the point where they didn't enjoy doing this anymore, and I think that obviously comes with a certain amount of fatigue from having to produce such high level quality content. But in an alternate reality where you guys decide that you wanted to go forward and make the Boo Saga, do you feel like you would have had any sort of that fatigue set in on you personally as a performer and a voice actor for this series, or is that something you've already sort of experienced? I mean, you do sound like you kick the crap out of yourself in the booth a little bit.
No, usually recording sessions are absolutely fine. Like, it's just those big pivotal moments which are important that I know that resonate well with the fans. That's why, because you need to take those moments seriously.
So the more general dialogue stuff, you're not doing.
Oh no, because I know the character. I know what to do for Goku and Gohan. That's not an issue. As in, like, you get used to the character. Kaiser writes for Goku and Gohan mostly, so I'm talking to the guy who wrote the line, so he knows what he wants, and I know how to do it. So there's no pressure there. And honestly, if we were doing Boo and we did this for like another 10 years or something like that, I'd be okay doing it. I'm more than happy to voice the character for the rest of my life, if I could.
And I mean, obviously we live in America, so a guy named Sean Chen to most people, but I know that for a fact you are the favorite Goku to a lot of fans.
Well, honestly, this is a big thing I always try and stress, is I do not compare myself to the Gokus. I really should not. Because I do it for a fan parody. They're doing it for the actual show, where the actual emotions and scenes are meant to be as intended. So I never try and compare myself to them, because that would be unfair and wrong. So like, people like to say, oh, I like you more than Shamel, or I like you more than Ozawa or Kalamis or Colette. The guys, just enjoy those guys. They were Goku. I voiced Goku on a fan parody thing. So yeah, it's nice to get compliments, of course. I take the compliment, but I don't let that kind of make myself feel pompous or big-headed, because that's just wrong to do.
Wow. Yeah, so that's your PSA from MasakoX. Stop, yelling at him about how he's the best Goku, Just enjoy all the Gokus. That's what Dragon Ball's about.
Yeah.
Goku.
Enjoy every interpretation has its own unique quirks and something to love and not love so much about. They all have their own different traits.
So one aspect of episode 60 that I kind of meant to bring up a moment ago that I thought was interesting, and I didn't realize that this was such a big part of, your commitment to the fandom, is you do the vocal cover of Spirit versus Spirit at the end of episode 60, correct?
No, that's not me.
What? I thought that was you.
No. No, that's done. That's done by two other people, and basically, that is a mixture of. Oh, that's like multiple different people. That's like Annie Jirian, who does like the arias, and
I thought that you were the male voice in the middle. I'm sorry.
No, that's Paulo Cuevas. He's a very, very talented Spanish singer, and rock singer. So I basically pointed him out to the group, and they picked him up.
Wow, I'm sorry that I just made myself look like an ass.
No, it's fine. No, it's like, this is a common misconception, so don't worry about it.
Oh, all right, I feel better then. Maybe we'll just leave it in for the Patreon cut. We'll see. So that final scene where Spirit versus Spirit does kick in for you, obviously, it's an iconic moment in Dragon Ball history. Whenever I think of like the iconic moments of Dragon Ball history, I think of the last episode of Dragon Ball GT and that long scroll of all the Dragon Ball memories through all of the seasons. And when it breaks to that part in the Cell Saga, it's just, I don't know, it just gives me chills every time when that red light goes on, or the red background goes on, and then the song kicks in. The music is such an integral part to Dragon Ball. But Hironobu Kageyama has done, I'd say, I don't know, if you had to guess conservatively, how many songs for Dragon Ball?
Well, pretty much all the games between 2002, 1997 and 2008.
And many of the movies as well, right?
Yeah, many of the movies. So I'm probably going to guess probably like 30, 35.
And did he did Spirit versus Spirit? Am I correct?
Yes. He did the male vocals for that, yes.
So that's all a long way to get to. What's your favorite Kagayama song?
Saikyo no Fusion. That's the movie 12 ending.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Yeah,
Awesome.
exactly. That is a good song, and it reeks of like 90s keyboard synth Japanese genre. I love that genre around the mid 90s for like keyboard and jazz. Very nice.
I'm so with you on that. So you are a musician yourself?
No, I'm not a musician per se. I do singing covers of various things, but
that counts, man.
Yeah, so I guess you could say that. But I have an appreciation, and I'm teaching myself to sing every day for the last 5 years, most specifically.
Awesome.
So just trying to improve it.
Outside of Dragon Ball songs, any other singing? I ask because I too am a musician. I play a couple nights out of the week as a acoustic guy at bars and restaurants and things.
I've done like things for like The Witcher, JoJo, Digimon, all that kind of stuff. Just songs that really speak out to me, or that just are really exciting to do.
Excellent. And I think Saikyo no Fusion, when those horn lines kick in at the beginning of that song, I instantly want to kick some ass.
Yeah, it's a good song.
I think my favorite Kagayama song might be though movie 13 ending, Tergayu, I believe it's called, Dragon Fist Explosion. I think that one might be my favorite.
Well, the fact the name is Dragon Fist Explosion, that you can't go wrong with that.
No, absolutely not. So obviously we know that Dragon Ball Z will be, coming to, or has officially come to an end as we know it in terms of the episodic releases. You guys still plan to do things in terms of the Dragon Ball shorts, though, correct?
Yeah, the Dragon shorts, yeah. But yeah, they kind of really be a bit more kind of using the world of DBZA, but yeah, a bit more like just a couple, just like skits, as it were.
Got it. So then you do have your own YouTube content that you make really regularly. In terms of, I always liked watching I know that you don't make them as regularly as you used to, but I always liked watching your Majin news segments.
Yeah, that was a nice little experiment, but the thing was, it just took so much time to make, and it's just the news was just so sporadic. And in terms of the analytics and the kind of algorithms, it just did not suit well. So in a way, it was worth a try, and it really helped in terms of green screen stuff. But it was worth a go. But it just didn't. It didn't really kind of catch on with the audience.
Yeah, the sporadic nature of Dragon Ball news and how difficult it could be for content creators, totally not lost on me.
Yeah.
So you've got the Majin news segments that I typically enjoy, but you've also done a long series of what if videos, and just basically what if different scenarios. If this event had happened differently in Dragon Ball, this would be what the corresponding events and how they would have played out.
Yeah.
And I think one of the more popular ones, and something that I probably had never thought about until I saw the question posed by you in your content was, what if Raditz hadn't died and he'd stuck around and turned good? And how much of a travesty it is that Goku's brother, of all people, is killed in the first 5 episodes of Dragon Ball Z and never, really spoken of ever again. When there could have been a lot of places to explore with that character.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was one of those things that you kind of just go from there. And it all just started off well. I did like a what if sensu beans never existed video. Like, if you took away sensu beans, how would it go? Short answer, not very well. But then I started to do various ones, but the first one that was like a multi-parter one was what if Kid Goku turned Super Saiyan? And that was like a really, really legendary good one, and I loved doing it. So it was one of the classics, and people still want me to do another one, even though I haven't done one in like 3 years. Yeah, but it's only just because it reaches a point where usually I tend to end a what if it gets too close to the original. It just goes like, I don't want to just be rehashing the original story.
So I would say that with the exploration of Raditz, and that is that a multi-part series for you as well?
Oh, Raditz, yeah, multi-part, yeah, that's gone to like 13 parts, as it were.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the general. Basically, leading into our discussion today, I want to share that I watched at least the first episode of Dragon Ball R&R, your series that you've produced with a group of really, really talented and committed fans to basically illustrate, and not illustrate's not the right word. I don't know exactly. I want to kind of get your take on it, but
of course,
that all led up from a what if part 13-part series of this Raditz scenario, and then it had gotten to a certain point where you'd said, basically, we've reached this part post Boo, and let's have a little R&R. Both rest and relaxation, but also Raditz and Raunch.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit. That's such a fascinating thing for me. What went into the decision-making process of you taking it from a what-if scenario where you just kind of, sit in front of a camera, talk about it, and outline it that way, to let's make this a full-blown production? What does that thought process look like?
Well, it got to the point around, I was loving the inclusion of Raunch and the dynamic with Goten and Trunks. But then I was kind of realizing around part 8 of the series that going into Super, the kids would barely have anything to do. And I thought, so I'd ask a poll, like, hey guys, do you guys would you like to see a spin-off involving more of the kids? And there was a over resounding 95% plus said yes. So I was like, okay then. So I then got together with my research pal Haverock. We worked together on scripts quite a lot of the time. And we just thought, okay, well, let's do this. Call it Dragon Ball R&R. So it's like Raditz and Launch, rest and relaxation. It's that period between the Boo saga and Super. So it's like a good bit of time to play with. So it's mainly just character driven. So I put out the auditions in January 2018. And lo and behold, I had 2,000 auditions.
Wow.
2,000 people. And I had about 600 people audition for Raditz. That was mad. That was utter madness.
How do you even begin to dig through 600 different submissions?
Very gradually. Very, very gradually.
Jeez.
But ultimately, I landed on Kevin Afghani, who has been Raditz since it started, and he is a fantastic Raditz. I saw loads of really good Raditzes, but he was the best Radish.
Really, and then makes it his own very quickly.
But no, he definitely had a good interpretation. But so I auditioned for anyone that was in episode 1, of course. So you got to have Trunks, you got to have Goten, Chi-Chi, Launch, all that kind of stuff. And I even had the odd ones out joining in as Dende, because it turns out he's a fan of Team 4-Star. So basically I thought, hey, do you want to play Dende? And he went, yeah, sure. He'd never actually done anything like that before, so it was a bit of a voyage of discovery for him. But it came out good. But ultimately, I voiced Goku because I did a poll in the first audition saying, do you guys want to hear me as Goku? And 9 out of 10 people said yes. So I'm okay. If you guys want me to be Goku, I'll just do a bit more of a serious interpretation, like less.
I'm so glad that you did, because it almost kind of ties to Team 4-Star a little bit. Like, it seems like your Goku's like guest starring in your own official product now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but only just less goofy, a bit more like a serious interpretation. But the most difficult one was Raunch, because Raunch is wholly original. So I'm like, I've got to understand who exactly I want for that character. And I had let me just see, like, I had loads of auditions for Raunch, but like come in. But there was like about 11 of them that made the shortlist. But Courtney was the one that did the best out of all of them. I mean, I had a couple of good ones, like really good ones, but Courtney was the one that really had sparked out the potential. And also, I actually actively sought out people who didn't really have much of a following. So people who were new, people who were relatively not unknown and had a low presence, because I didn't want to have this ridden off the back of a big fan base. So I had people like Prince Vegeta and Bulma Bunny audition for it, and I was like, yeah, they're good. I like these characters. I like your auditions. You did very well. But ultimately, that's not the modus operandi of this project.
You don't want to cast somebody just because they have a large following.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the odd ones out, that was different. That's a cameo. That's a cameo, and it was like, oh, hey, this guy, it's Dende, he has one line. So I'm not going to have people audition for a character who has just one line. So it'd be a waste of time for them, mainly. But he kind of like, Courtney did a very good job, and the people like Trina for Bulma, Alex Walker-Smith for Vegeta, very divisive Vegeta, certainly, but I didn't want a Sabbath clone. So I wanted something between Brian Drummond and Sabbath, and I feel like Alex has got a good Vegeta, and people have gotten used to it, yeah.
Divisive Vegeta. I'm glad that you pointed that out or mentioned it, because I think he was a little, I mean, I don't know how much Vegeta's character has changed given that Raditz has stuck around, and I haven't been able to watch 13 part.
Of course. Well, the context of that Vegeta, and I think a lot of people didn't realize unless they'd gone back and watched R&R, the Raditz Turned Good series. This Vegeta is a lot more assured of himself. He's beaten Raditz. Kakarot's been AWOL, and basically he feels like he is superior. He has a level of being an asshole. Like, he is an absolute cruddy prick who is absolutely full of himself. So he will just throw
a key blast at his kid when he walks in the.
Exactly, because he should have seen that coming. He is non-stop feeling like, I beat Raditz, I don't care, I'm the best. It's a very different Vegeta.
Yeah, he's very gruff, and it comes across in the performance too, I think.
Yeah, and they're just a very hoity-toity, it's like, oh yes, I am very great. I am Vegeta. I am truly the Prince of all Saiyans. It carries himself a lot better, I'd say.
So in terms of the production, I mean, I've got a pretty good, I mean, it sounds like you've got sounds like it was an extensive process to try to cast the right people, and I'm glad that you opted to go with the people that you felt best fit the character in terms of their performances, over, a known name. But watching it today, I mean, I wasn't sure what to expect when I first, clicked the video. It's black and white. It's drawn beautifully. I'm not sure who your artist is, but my lord, these pictures are beautiful.
It's multiple ones. Like, we had people like DBZ Trev, Malik Torahane from Dragon Ball New Age. We got like loads of good artists. Nexus Mania is one of them. He did like my favorite, like a kind of glamour shot of Goditz, the fusion of Goku and Raditz, the one that's all sparkly, and Bulma's like, oh, he's kind of cute.
Yeah.
And it's just like, just that moment, because that scene with Goditz and Raunch and the music of that song is so good. Because the music's all original.
Yeah, your opening song kicks a pretty good amount of ass, man.
Yeah,
who makes your music?
A guy called Nesta Glass, or Nesta Toymill. He's a Spanish musician, as well as our brass guy, James Riley. And those two together, James and Nesta, get on so well. And Hayden Davio, she's the main character in Goblin Slayer. She does a lot of singing and a lot of like fan dramas herself. So she did really well for the Thrill. Yeah, for the Thrill, I feel like it's a really good song. And Chi Chi's Papa's Wish, the ending theme, I adore as well.
So well done. So the music aspect part of it is I feel like it's spot on. I mean, for what we're trying to do, it's I don't know. I love this is very much a love letter to the series in a lot of ways.
Course.
And you guys encapsulate that very well with not only the performance but the music aspect part of it, but the visual is what was most interesting to me, because you've got these beautiful pictures, and I mean, they're stills for all intents and purposes, but the way in which you guys edit them together, it's very engaging to watch. I felt like I was watching an episode of a different Dragon Ball series, but a Dragon Ball series nonetheless. And the fact that it wasn't like quote unquote truly animated, the writing and the story in itself was engaging enough where that wasn't even a problem.
Yeah, that is our mission. We are limited by budget, considerably hindered by it. But so we try and make do with what we got. And I feel like we've done a good job in terms of making use of the resources that we have.
So before I ask you for the Patreon information for you to share and see if we can get you some more, executive producers for R&R, what are your plans, hopes, goals for the future of R&R? We've done 5 episodes, I believe. Is that right?
We've done 4. The 5th is in production.
Okay. And do you have a target date for the release on that, or?
I ideally would like to have it done before the end of Q1. But unfortunately, we've had to go through multiple production processes and changing things, and people having to dip in and out due to the real life commitments, which is totally understandable. So we're having that. This is the thing with working with people. We're working with people who have real jobs, so we have to kind of work around it. So hopefully we've taken in steps to try and ensure that episode 6 comes out much, but we just want to make sure it comes out good, because episode 5 is all about Raditz and about his interpretation of the past, and how he conveys Vegeta is going to floor everybody.
Oh wow, that's definitely piqued my interest. Now that I've watched episode 1, I'm gonna have to go back and watch 2, 3, and 4 in preparation.
They're all different things. Like with episode 2, it's about Goten having a haircut to gain more sense of personal identity. Episode 3 shows the moment when Raditz actually joined the side of our team. And then episode 4 is all about Yamcha. The guy who we get for Yamcha.
Still.
And it's his final baseball career. We actually have a really compelling story. And the guy who we got for Yamcha, Stan, he's so good.
This all sounds like I need to watch it immediately. I guess, are there any other episode ideas, subjects that you got kind of kicking around that you've got in the future? Or?
We've got 12 episodes for this season, and we've got written all of them. All 12, we have a script for them.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we got an entire season in the works.
So what are the ways in which people can support? I mean, because these aren't just like, typical, we like Dragon Ball, let us recreate Dragon Ball. These are like some interesting ideas within the world of Dragon Ball that...
Yeah, absolutely.
Us as adult fans, I mean, I feel like these are the kind of stories that we yearn for, but given the fact that it's a show still geared for the demographic of 10-year-old boys in Japan, we'll probably never get to see them on this, a serious level.
There's a 2-parter I'm looking forward to that involves Ten Shinhan when his dojo's just opened and he's struggling to find people. He wants Goku to be a master, but he has to settle for Raditz.
I feel like Raditz wouldn't even entertain that. He'd be like, "Get out of here, Three Eyes."
Oh no, he's like, "Oh no, sure, I'd love to be a help." And Ten Shinhan's like, "Really? No, it's fine. No, absolutely, I want to help." Yeah. No, our Raditz is very, very pompous and goofy because he is so confident now. Because he believes in himself. And he's just, "Oh no, I'm Raditz. I want to be part of everything. I'm down for that. Absolutely." Yeah.
Man, this is going to be excellent to see.
Our Raditz, Kevin, is so good at just being a goofball. Raditz is just such a goof. He's very serious in the art of battle and stuff like that. And he gets the job done. He doesn't take things, silly in battle, but when it's all down in peacetime, no, he's one of those crazy, like, fun-loving dads.
And this was just a guy that you hadn't had random 600 submissions?
Yeah, no, Kevin, I mean, I had some really good ones, but Kevin just had that, like, joie de vivre, as in, like, just that love for life that I just, he's really, really good.
So excellent. So, obviously, we have a lot to look forward to with the future of Dragon Ball R&R, and then we'll still have the Dragon Shorts from Team 4-Star to look forward to. Any other kind of things that you're looking forward to accomplishing in 2020 in terms of your content creation, YouTube, things like that?
Well, I'm working on a little card game to do with my what ifs, so I'm looking forward to unleashing that upon the world soon.
Card game? What is it like?
Well, it's kind of like if you mix Fun Employed and Cards Against Humanity together. Okay. That's what you get.
I don't think I've ever played Fun Employed. Cards Against Humanity I've played a lot of, but not the other.
It involves a lot of improv. And it's a party game.
Excellent. That's something I would definitely be into trying and checking out. All right, Masako, I don't want to occupy too much of your time today. I know that we've just passed the hour mark. What can fans do? I mean, obviously, we want them to go check out your YouTube channel, check out the episodes that we've got of Dragon Ball R&R, and be on the lookout for future ones. Patreon information, socials, all that stuff.
Of course. Well, you can find me on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram by just searching for MasakoX. You can look the patreon.com/MasakoX if you want to contribute to the Patreon. And I'm probably the most active on YouTube, most likely.
Excellent. Well, MasakoX, thank you so much for taking to speak with me today. I really appreciate you enlightening me on a lot of things. Not only about what you accomplished in this fandom and what you've helped contribute to, but also, what you intend to do going forward with your content creation. And your love for the series is very genuine and not lost on me. I appreciate you taking the time today.
Cool. Well, you're welcome.
So yeah, that was my sit down with MasakoX. Thank you so much again to him for taking time to talk with me last week. I know that I said at the top of the episode that I was really nervous, and still totally nervous. And I think I hold it together pretty well through most of that, but there were some parts where I could hear it anyway. But if you made it to the end here, I super appreciate you checking this out. I hope that this was able to reach some potential new listeners. Thank you so much for taking the time to check this out today. If you enjoyed it, hope you stick around. Please feel free to rate and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, all the places where the podcasts live. I said that already. If you are new, we do have an extensive backlog of episodes focused primarily on Dragon Ball, My Hero Academia, but we do have some other stuff in there as well, such as Godzilla, some of the Marvel movies. We've done stuff on Death Note, Promised Neverland Season 1. We've done a few things over the last almost 3 years, I believe. So yeah, go check out old episodes. We appreciate you taking the time to listen to this today, and hope to have you back soon. Super dope.